Good morning. I'm Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations, and I am jumping on today because it is week 5 of the Joyful Meadows Quilt Along. This little weird hair sticking up. I hope you guys are enjoying this quilt along. So far, we've made our flying geese, our half square triangles, and last week we started making blocks. So this week we will be making our second block, and we will be making 4 of that block. I'll wait a couple seconds in case some people are trying to find the video. I know it takes a few tries to get the video to pop up on your feed. If you jump on, say hi so I can make sure I can see comments. Today's late start, which I love late start. The kids don't have to start school till 10. So that's nice. We're still doing the remote thing. And we have some snow in the forecast. Yay, I'm so excited. I think like tonight or tomorrow we're supposed to get a little bit of snow. So the kids are pretty excited about that. But I'm not sure if that means snow days since we're remote. Or if they still have to do school because it's like you're doing school from home. So I don't know. Hi. I see a few people jumping on. Maybe I'll log into my Facebook on my phone just to make sure I can see comments. It's been a couple times that I couldn't see them, which I want to answer any questions that you guys got. If you guys have questions regarding this block, please let me know. Which I have to turn down my volume so you can't hear me talking. Okay. Oh, yeah, I can't see comments. I don't know why. Good morning, Melanie. Hello, Marlua. I have put one of block 2 together. Just need to finish the other 3. Oh, awesome. I don't know why half the time I can see comments and then the other half the time I can't. Facebook. All right. So at least I have my phone so I can see comments if you guys have any questions. I guess we'll just get into it. All right. So block 2. I wonder if there we go. Okay. Hi, Donna. Hi, Kathy. Okay. So at least I can see them on my phone. Sorry. Getting a little distracted. All right. Block 2. I hope you guys are all having a great morning. And it's not too cold where you guys live. Oh, good. Marlua said her blocks are going together really good. That makes me happy. So there's a little bit of delay on my phone versus what I'm video recording. So if you guys comment, it takes a couple seconds to show up on my phone. So block 2 starts on page 10 of the pattern. And we're basically making, I don't even know what this is called. Like a pointed top little house kind of shape. You're going to want to look to see what pieces you need for your size requirement. You'll draw a line from one corner of your little square to the other. And I usually use a hair marker just because it just leaves an indent and I don't have to worry about anything washing out of my fabric. And then I just stitch right up against that line. I know you can't see it because I have white thread. But then when I go to iron that, press it, I like match these 2 corners up. And then I press it down with my iron. And that way, like if it doesn't completely reach the top or the side, I only trim out that center section to give it less bulk. I don't trim off the back. That way, I'll show you. I know some people just always do this, but if it matches up with both the side and the top, I'll trim both layers back just so there's less bulk. But if you just trim that center piece up and say that doesn't go completely to the top, you would line when you're sewing together to another block, you'd line it up to this white part. You wouldn't line it up to your floral, because if you line it up to the floral, the block would end up getting wonky and it wouldn't be perfectly square. So you're gonna want to try to line it up as best as you can, press it. Giving it a good press also helps the seams open a little and things line up better. I prefer no steam just so that it doesn't get wonky, so I just use heat, press, not a lot of motion, just pressing. I can't watch now, but I'll try to catch it at lunch or after work. Okay, Tanya. I hope you have a good day at work. Say hi. Hi. All right, go play. Bye. So that's what I like to do. And then once you have that one situated, you put your next square on the other corner and you'll draw your line. You'll stitch it right next to that line or on that line, depending how thick your line is. If you're using a marker, sometimes the line can be really thick, so you're going to want to chomp right into that line, the side of that line. But if your line's really thin, just go right up against it. And then again, press it to the corner. And if they line up all nicely, sometimes mine will come up a little bit more than the white on the back, and then I'll just take my little square ruler and I'll just trim off whatever I see coming above the white or on the side of the white, if that makes sense. Just so that we know we're ending up with a nice, perfect square piece, even though it's a unit now, we want it to be nice and square and the right size. And then if you can, just trim off both. If they're lining up nicely. If they're not, like this one was tiny bit less, so I just kept it. I trimmed out the centerpiece, but I kept the sides. I know it's just a tiny, tiny bit. It's even less than like probably a 1/16 of an inch, but just that little, 32 of an inch, it can make a difference in the overall size of your block, and in things lining up correctly. And you want all your pieces to line up correctly. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, next we go to step 3. We have our little triangle pieces, or our little houses, and we're gonna add 2 flying geese to the top. So when you're looking at your pattern, you want to make sure you what I like to do on my pattern. I like to have this filled out with my fabrics. If you have multiple fabric choices, just keeping this always with you so you know which flying geese to attach to that. With my last one, that's what I did, the navy, pinks, teal, and red one. And it helped. I just kept going, okay, that's my blue. That's my G. That's my H, like that. Oh, Marlua said she made more half square triangles with the cutoffs. Since I'm doing the baby one, my half square triangles would have been super tiny. You can do that. You can make the half square triangles with these. Usually when it's this small of a piece, I just give the scraps to my kids and they use it for art projects. So this one, we're going to attach our little house to 2 flying geese, this is supposed to be an H and a G, and then, or H, F, and then this is a GH. But since I'm using all 2 colors, that's why mine looks like this. It looks a little different than yours. And then step 4, you're going to have an HG, a GH, and then an HF. Just to give, so the reason I did this, I know some people may have thought, why don't you just do a flying geese with a 2.5 by 4.5 inch strip? I like to do as least amount of seams in my quilts as possible. I just like the look of less seams. So if I can get away with not having an extra seam there, I think that's cool, because what happens if your background fabric was a floral? It'd be nice not to have a seam if you don't need one. All right, so any questions about those? I think we're good. And then we get to step 5. This is where one of the typos was. If you haven't gotten an updated PDF, it's just only on the queen size. It should be 8 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares, not 4 by 4 inch squares. If you see that, if you need an updated PDF, just email me at happycloudcreations@gmail.com. The last update was made January 22nd. So if you've gotten a pattern after January 22nd, you're good to go. So, all right, here they are. I have like so many different pieces laid out over here. It's just crazy. First, we're just going to sew the 2 squares together and press toward your colored fabric, not the backroom fabric. And this is where you want to make sure you have an accurate seam. That way, when you go to sew this rectangle to these 2 squares, they will be the exact same length. If this ends up being too long, you can always trim it, but I would center it up on the center and trim that way, making sure you have the same size pieces on each side. Hopefully it ended up the correct size. That would be awesome. Sometimes I don't push mine, accidentally don't push mine all the way up against my guide, so it ends up a little bit too big, which is better than too small, I would think. But I have this 1/4 inch guide on mine. It has this little ledge kind of thing, and then I just butt the fabric up to that, which is nice. Then it kind of just, not a lot of thinking involved, just put it up. So say that again about the update for the queen size, please. So it's queen size, color H. It should be 8 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares. I forgot the 1/2 inch part on there, because it used to say 4 by 4, so it should be 4.5 by 4.5. If you've received the updated PDF, it'll have that on there. I'm not sure if you did or not. I emailed so many people updated PDFs. I don't remember who I sent and who I didn't. So once these are sewn together, you'll have a nice little square that looks like this. And if you're making a large queen or king, this is when you want to start, like, even with the baby, measure it, make sure it's the correct size. So right here, I like to always say how many you need. You need 8. And then it says this unit will measure, and it tells you what this unit will measure. You go, okay, I'm right on track. It measures 4.5 by 4.5. So then this next step, step 6, it's going to tell you to make 4 of this unit A and 4 of this unit B, because it's kind of opposite sides of the block, so they're going to look a little different. So each block will require 1 of these and 1 of these, and since there's 4 blocks, we're going to need 4 of these and 4 of these total. And then this one's pretty simple. You just sew that piece to the bottom. If you want to measure it again, you can. Oh, I think I may have sewn that one already into the quilt. I did. So, and the next piece you'll be adding is this larger piece. You'll add it to this side of this one and this side of this one, which it shows you in step 7. So I like to give a little written instructions that go along with the diagram. So if you're not understanding the diagram, make sure to read what I wrote next to it, and that might help you go, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. All right. Next step. Any questions? Any questions? Doesn't look like it. I think this is a fairly simple pattern, I think, right? The next step, step 8. we will just be putting 2 flanges together. This one would be a DH and an HD. You need 4 of these guys because there's 4 blocks. And then we go to the next page, which after doing it like this is my 3rd time, you can kind of add these 2 steps together if you wanted. I just broke them apart just because I thought it might be easier for you to see and do it without having too many steps in one step. So you're going to be making 4 of A, 4 of B, which I kind of combined them. I put a square on one end, and then on the opposite end, you're going to have a diagonal going from one end to the other. And then you're going to have the opposite one with a square on the end, diagonal one end to the other. Just make sure you cut off the correct part, since you're like, oh, am I supposed to cut off this part? Oh yeah, you're always supposed to cut off that part, right? And then this will fold up. Same with this one as I did the little house ones. I stitch right next to my drawn line, and then I like to put these all together. And as you can see, this one kind of, there's white on the back. So what I would do is I would get my ruler and I would line that up, making sure it was the 2.5 inches wide, and I would trim off whatever white is overhanging, because eventually we're going to want this to be a rectangle, and we're not going to want it to veer bigger on this end. We're going to want it to be the correct size. So once you trim that up, you can see if it all matches, and then you can cut, well, press and then cut. Same with the other one. You're going to press it, and then trim whatever you want off. And then basically you're gonna just be sewing some rectangles together, which you're gonna be having 8 of these total, because they're gonna go on the bottom of these units. I'll show you what that will look like. So you're gonna need 4 of this one, and you're gonna need 4 of this one. So they're a little opposite just because I wanted the block to have a mirrored image on each side. Yeah, so it's kind of mirrored, going one way, going the other. All right. So now we have all of our units done, and basically we're going to be sewing our units into 3 strips to make our block, which you can see right here, the last step. I like to break my blocks up into units, and then you can sew them into 3 strips. And then you're going to want the seams pressed in alternate directions so they nest well. If you are a person that likes to press your seams open for less bulk, that's fine too. Just once you get those strips done, so here's my middle strip. Where'd my other strips go? Here's my top strip. What I like to do is I like to start pinning from the center out, and I pin at each seam intersection. So I would first pin at these 2 spots, nesting those seams together, and then I would pin in the center and then go out and go out. These were the ones I messed up last night. I made 8 of A. Oh no. I wonder if there's any way you can Bev, take it apart and fix it. Might not be able to if you've already cut off the fabric. Hopefully you have a little extra fabric so you can fix that up. So the one nice thing about this block is when you go to square it up. If there's any excess like length on either of these sides, you're not going to cut off any points, which is nice. I like that. But I would recommend waiting to square any of your blocks up until all of your blocks are done, because you might square this one up going, oh, it needs to be a little shorter, or needs these ones are a little shorter. You want to measure all of your blocks, because the length of this block is going to be how big your center block is, and then your corner blocks are basically the height of these. So it's a little weird. I know that all the blocks are not the same size. I did have a reason. So I added this portion, instead of making all 16-inch blocks, I added this portion here just so I wouldn't have a seam here and here. I could have larger pieces. And then I didn't take a seam from the bottom here because I wanted that center block to have full petals. I didn't want the petals to be cut and put into this. That way, if you wanted to just make that center block into a pillow, or if you wanted to make a quilt just with those center blocks, you could, and it wouldn't be part of a different block, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm really happy how this one turned out. I'm loving the two fabric color. Like, I've never done that. I love it. I have enough to fix for. I am fixing after this today. Awesome, Bev. Oh, good. I always worry that I will mess up and not have enough fabric, so I always tend to purchase a little bit extra fabric. And so far, there's only been like 1 or 2 times that I had to actually go and order more fabric because I was like, I didn't calculate it correct. That's the problem with, like, designing a pattern, and then if you miscalculate, that's why I always design the pattern and then I go through it and make it before I actually even send it to my testers, because I want to go through the steps and make sure I have enough of the fabric before that I give them fabric requirements, because I don't want them to not have enough fabric. Does anybody have questions with block 2? It's really cool to see your quilts being put together. I love seeing them. It's really exciting because we just have 1 block left. So, like, if this block takes you a little longer than last week, that's understandable because there's a lot more pieces, units that need to be made this week. It's not just like slapping it all together. So next week we just have that 1 block. So anything you don't finish this week, you can carry over into next week. That way you can get this all finished. And so next week's the last block, and then the following week we'll be putting our quilts together, and I'll do a little video that week as well. Connie, I bought enough extra to redo the baby size I'm doing. Oh, that's awesome. So are you making 2, Connie? Or what do you mean by redo? Did you cut things wrong? So I'm trying to think. Ooh, Kathy has 1 block done. Yay! I just have this 1 block done. I finished it this video started at 9 and I finished this block at 8:15. Having the kids home during a quilt along is like, I'm just like grasping for time to sew. It's a little more difficult than when they're actually in public school, out of the house. So I don't know when the next quilt along will be after this. I might have to wait till their summer break. We'll see. Next week they have a midwinter break, so they'll have all week off. So I'm wondering if people would prefer if I do the video a little later in the day, like at 10 o'clock instead of 9. Maybe I'll do a little poll in the group to see what you guys prefer. If you guys like the 9 a.m. West Coast time, Pacific Standard Time, or if you want it a little bit later in the day. All right. Hope you guys have a great day. I hope we get some snow here. I know a lot of places in the country and the world already have snow right now. We haven't gotten it yet, and we usually get a little dusting by now. So I'm hoping we'll get some this weekend. If we do, maybe I'll post a little picture so you guys can see us playing in the snow. Maybe I'll get some quilt pictures in the snow. That's what I should do. That's what I should do. All right. You guys have a great day. And I'll put a poll in the group to see what time you want the video to be next week. And it's just going to be for that last block, which I don't even have my other quilt in here. So I'm going to show you. It's going to be this beauty. See, so that would have been weird if I cut these tips off and put them in the side blocks, right? I think that was a smart decision to keep this block whole. That way, if you just want to make this center block, you got everything you need, right? All right. Have a great day, and I will talk to you guys later.